Hi, guys. How are you? I hope you're okay. I'm thinking about you and missing you, and I mean, terribly missing you. As a teacher, we realize that we do this work to work with you all. And when we can't see you every day, it makes the job not nearly as cool. So just know that I'm over here wishing that I was in a classroom with you. This is my third attempt to record this video, which is why it's 8:45 and you've yet to receive it. Because, internet stuff is new sometimes. So I'm working through it. So hopefully this is the last third time to charm, and this will be posted here in the next 15 minutes. With that said, I wanted to just kind of jump on today for a few reasons. I wanted to make this whole virtual classroom thing feel a bit more real. I thought it'd be nice to see my face. Some of you might be sick of my rambling, so enjoy. The last video was 20 minutes. I'm going to try to cut it down to 10. So let me do my best. A few things to note. Number one, I hope that you are taking care of yourself and each other. I hope that you are, doing things now that are important not only for your future, but yourself, and spending time with those people that you love and you care about, because ultimately that's what's really important. I think in these times of weirdness and uncertainty, especially in the virtual classroom scenario, it's really important that you keep and maintain some sort of structure and routine. If you heard yesterday, the government or the CDC posted information about the fact that schools will be unallowed to return back to classrooms until August 17th, and even that date might be tentative and could change. So at the very least, we're going to be doing this for a month. And it's hard to work from home. It's hard to be productive. It's hard to stay focused. So I think routine is really important. So on school days, when you get up to do your work, I would give yourself a little bit of time to wake up, to eat some food, to make your bed. Oh, which way did I go? This way? Like I made my bed? Okay. This is my room, by the way, in my parents' house. And, put on makeup or wash your hair or, I don't know, change your clothes or stay in your pajamas. Like I am actually in mine. Or wear a beanie to school because you can. How great is that? So make sure you're still doing those things so that you can stay productive and happy and healthy. When we get in these stagnant, isolated situations, it's really easy for our body systems to sort of shut down. And that is not what you want. You want to be ready and capable and the best human you can be for whatever comes next. So with that said, make sure you figure that out. Today, I have my tea. I've watered the plants. I brought them home from the classroom, made my bed, and now I'm sitting here at my desk getting to work. So I have two main reasons I want to pop on. Number one, I wanted you to see my face. Number two, I am getting some questions about the global issue matrix, and I felt like since we can't see each other, it would be useful for me to walk you through an example. So I'm going to quickly walk you through this example in order to try to save time. And I'm going to try to do this in about 7 minutes if I can, so that you don't have to listen to me for too long. Hopefully you should be able to see my screen here. Last time I recorded, you couldn't, which is why that recording went in the trash. So if you're on Google Classroom, you'll see these couple of assignments, right? This is where you'll turn in your global issues matrix. But if you scroll down further to the initial post that I did here, global issues investigation, that's where you can see the sample matrix. You can see the UN17 site, these other websites like our Destiny Quest at School that might be helpful, and then the depth of complexity question cards. Again, you don't need to use these. If they're not helpful to you, don't. But if they are, or if you just need some further guidance on one particular category, maybe come here and see if there's something on this page that sort of jogs your thinking or inspires you to consider how you might approach this idea. This thing is not going to, let's try that. Okay, there we go. This is a process. So anyway, if you open up the matrix that you hopefully already have, you should. If you don't, make a copy of mine so that you can create your own. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see here what I've done. You can kind of see the whole document, but I've completed one row of my global issues and the context associated with that. And then I've just sort of randomly filled in other categories and boxes in relations to the text. So that way you can kind of see how those boxes might look when you start doing. So reminder, you should have this first row done by now. If you don't, start there. If you do, then now your goal is to pick one text that we've read so far that relates to your global issue. and fill out the row for that one text. So I've done a lot of random rows here. That's for your guidance, not what yours should look like. If you want to do more than one text row right now, go for it. Eventually you will have to. That will save you time and work later. Feel free to keep moving if you're like in the flow and doing your thing. But notice like in these particular categories, if we zoom in a little bit, you can kind of see more of what I've done. The big thing here is you'll see under the guiding question, I've bolded out the keywords. So just like on the SAT or when you analyze, it's important that you find those key words. Like, what am I looking for? Well, under patterns, I'm looking for patterns. That's a keyword. I'm also looking for reoccurring events, details, or maybe cycles. So where can I see things that keep cycling, keep happening in this issue? Where can I see things that are reoccurring, that always like come up or are considered? Okay, and you might find that some of these categories sort of like feel repetitive or cross over into some of the others. Cool. Feel free to have duplicate information in some of these categories if it fits. But try to make sure there's something unique in each box. That way you're really getting a breadth of your issue and understanding it in a wide scope. So if I'm looking for this one, for example, just so you see how I did this, you're going to need to maybe do some web research, maybe go to Destiny Quest, up to you. I'm just going to do some web research for the sake of showing you. So again, I'm looking for keywords, patterns, cycles, and I'm looking at this in terms of gender inequality. So if I open a new window and I type in here, for example, I'm just going to keep moving my face around here. I type in gender inequality. As you can see, I've already been searching these things. But literally, if I'm looking for patterns, then I could type in gender inequality and the word patterns, and then I could find some stuff to place in that category. Now, something to consider is that what we're doing here, though, is looking at this global issue. And what you're going to find is probably a lot of stuff about America, because we naturally sort of gravitate towards those sources. That's what makes sense to us. But if you're really being IB, then you're thinking about a global context. So gender inequality in America is going to look very, very different than gender inequality in North Korea. And so we want to consider, as a whole, what does this issue look like? And so you'll want to incorporate those multiple parts and pieces if you can. So when I searched this, I put gender inequality patterns around the world so that I got much more of a global view as opposed to just what's going on in the US. Okay. This website here that I found, ourworldindata.org, is going to be useful to all of you for all of your issues. It literally has data for all sorts of global issues throughout the globe. So if I click on that, you pop in, you take a look at it, you look around, you skim it a little bit, you determine, hey, is this going to be a useful website for me? When I look at this, I see some graphs. See, South Korea is looking real low on the inequality basis. There's some graphs you can read, there's some whatever. But initially, I saw this like quick summary. And oftentimes these articles will have what's called an abstract or a summary that just kind of tells you a little bit what's in there, so you don't waste a bunch of time digging into the article and not finding what you need. And already in this summary, I'm seeing all sorts of good stuff, and I can jump straight to that section and find more about it. So in my matrix, I don't have to be crazy detailed. I just need good references that I could build an analysis from. And then I can come back to this document later if I need to grab what other details I might be missing. So as you can see here, men tend to earn more than women. Women are underrepresented in senior positions. Women are overrepresented in low-paying jobs, particularly like things like cleaning, cooking, janitorial services, daycare. Some of these like domestic jobs are saved for women in a lot of our countries around the world. So I thought this was a good resource. So first of all, I know I'm going to use it. And so I just simply went back to my matrix and I sort of summarized some of the most important details from that source right here in this box. Okay, so if I double click in the box, I can type in the box. Some of the stuff I wrote in, number one, was like stuff I already know. I already see in the life that I live that there's an over-sexualization of female body parts in film and TV and music and media and so on. So I just typed that in from my own understanding, my own brain, which is good and credible and valid. So remember that your points matter. But then also I want to make sure to have some good research stuff that I can rely on as credible and accurate. So I just kind of summarized some of those key points from that summary list we just saw. Don't forget that when you're typing in here, if you just simply hit enter, it's going to take you down to the next box. If you want to keep typing in this particular box, I'm going to double click to go into it. And then as a reminder, you're going to hit the control key key, which is in the bottom left corner of your keyboard, and then enter at the same time. And that will allow you to go down and type more if that's what you need to do. Additionally, if you want to backspace, you should just be able to backspace just fine, or control backspace to get back if you'd like. And then when you hit enter, it'll take you out of the box. So that's what I did here for patterns. Notice sometimes they are specific facts or like details. Sometimes, so I have like an actual timeline here, and I identified, hey, this is in the US only. But then after that, I sort of surmised what I've noticed about that. Here, there's lots of facts, there's a definition, but like these ones are, this one is definitely just more my opinions, my thinkings, what I see, what I surmised after doing all this research. Okay, so once you have that first row complete, then your goal is to pick one text that you associate with your global issue. Now, I did all the text we've read so far, so you can see what this looks like across text and across the categories. So I just did a couple of boxes and categories in each, so you could just kind of get that guidance. But you're only going to pick one text for now. I immediately see this gender inequality in Watchmen, so I'll just talk about that for the sake of time and speed. So if I go to my Watchmen row, my goal is to fill out this row before tomorrow and submit it on Google Classroom, this document here, okay? So once I do that, I'm going to go in and I went category by category. And sometimes I just thought about the text and I'm like, okay, what happened in the text where there was some gender inequality? And the first thing I thought of was that cut up example at the end of one of the chapters. I can't remember what chapter it is. I want to say like 9 or something, but where they talk about, it's the article about Silk Spectre and how she's the new vigilante in the group. And I remember it being super focused on this idea that she's a female, and that's interesting. And I remember that it talked about her bust size. So I was like, okay, well, so I went back to the text. I just used the PDF that I shared with you the other day to get there. And I found that page. And so when you're in a particular category, again, you're using this guiding question as your guidance. Like, I am looking for, zoom in a little bit here for you. I am looking for words and phrases that are used in Watchmen when gender inequality is occurring. So you're going to kind of combine the guiding question with your issue and say, okay, what does that look like? Oh, this is getting sloppy. What does that look like in the text, right? So specifically on that page with that article, there were lots of, examples of language. So I just literally copied or typed in what those specific examples were. So in that article, the Silk Spectre is explained as a shapely 18-year-old redhead, alluring and mysterious, shortest long underwear yet, feisty female, pretty looking woman. And then I sort of just kind of surmised what that meant for me. It's good to have your evidence there, but then if you can make some sort of interpretive statement or point about that evidence, that's going to help you later in your analysis. So I put language, within this text is focused on physical appeal and not ability or skill, which is interesting because they're heroes and they're supposed to have ability or skill. Like, that's why they're heroes, because they are capable to do something that the rest of us peons aren't. And so what's interesting in this article is they don't speak to her skill at all. They speak about her past, how she was in the burlesque shows. They speak about her bust size and her waist and her hip size. They talk about her being feisty and alluring, right? So it's all about like her physical appeal as opposed to her ability. And that same page, I had some more stuff I could put under patterns. So again, under patterns, I noticed here that I talked about the over-sexualization of female body parts. So then I thought, well, where in the text might there be an over-sexualization of any of the females? And then again, I thought of the article. I'm like, well, they talk about her bust size. They talk about her short outfit and how appealing and mysterious she is. That is definitely the over-sexualization of the Silk Spectre. So I used that same page, and I went back to that page, and I thought, what here is over-sexualized? So I sort of surmised that here, and this is hard to see. I'm going to make this color a bit darker for you. And I said over-sexualization in media. We see this in the Daily World article about the Silk Spectre. They're all shocked that the new vigilante is a girl. They mention her attractiveness and even report to the reader her bust, waist, and hip size. And then I included a quote here. Sally is such a hit with the hoods that they're practically tripping over each other in the rush to get nabbed by her, right? Like, the criminals want to get caught by the Silk Spectre, which is not what criminals normally want. But why do they want to get caught? Because they think she's hot. That is the over-sexualization, right? And so I incorporate that understanding from the text into this box because it fits along with this and this. And so you might find this guiding question to be a good resource, or rather the information that you incorporated into that category for your issue to be the guiding thing that takes you to what's happened in the text. So where in the text do you see these cycles, these reoccurring events, so on and so forth. Okay. If you can, please include page numbers. You're going to have to. In your work, you're going to want to be able to reference those things. So do it if you can. If you don't have text, all the text, then just do your best. Like, for example, my Crazy Brave text is not on me right now. So I had to just sort of come up with those details by memory and just put them in the best I can for now. And I'll have to go find those page numbers later. All the other texts have been shared with you on Google Classroom. All right. So with that said, I think I've gone through basically everything I need to. I would recommend putting on some good music. I'm sharing with you for Mindful today some of the music I've been listening to get this work done. It's instrumental, no words, get you kind of like in the flow, in the zone. So do whatever works for you. But this guy is due by tomorrow. And then you've got, if you haven't finished Sailor, like clearly that should be done, and take the quiz on Empower. And then last but not least, your IA is due as well. If it were me, I'd finish it by tomorrow so that I could just have spring break off. If you need more time because you've got a lot going on, then you can submit it after spring break. That's completely up to you. But we will keep doing this virtual stuff. So you want to be ready for the next steps as they come so that you can prove your learning and still finish school this year, regardless of when we might return. If you have questions, please email me. Don't feel bad about it. Don't worry about it. I'd much rather answer your questions than you feel confused. I stay on my email all day. So literally, if you do email me, I will get back to you as quickly as I possibly can. I hope you're doing okay. I miss you guys so much. Stay healthy, stay happy, and we'll talk tomorrow.